you've watched any of my recent videos, you'll know that I redid this whole studio and built out this new space, and then I got a new camera that I'm using to film this video with. But there's one thing that I still haven't addressed: the lens. And I wouldn't usually address this since this is a lens that I've talked about previously, and it's really nothing special, except that I've totally changed my mind about what I think of this lens. See, what I'm using right now and what I've used to shoot every video in this area with this set, and it's the lens that I used to shoot every single shot of the Canon C100 original video, and that is the Yongnuo 50mm F1.8. That's a knockoff of the Canon 50mm F1.8. They're essentially the same thing, except Yongnuo's lens is only 50 bucks, and it's really plastic and flimsy, and I bought it originally for my T5i, and I had no intention of using it with this camera. Originally, I thought I was going to use the 24mm, except that was just a little bit too wide. So I switched to the 50, and oh my goodness, it is crazy what you can accomplish with a $50 lens. And that's the craziest part. This is a very expensive camera body, but I'm using a $50 cheapy lens. Yet it still produces what I like to think is a really nice and sharp picture. So I thought I would go back and talk about this lens, since I have said before that I don't like it, and I've given it a lot of negative reviews. But what I've realized is there's just a small niche for it, and it's a very special lens. And when you use it correctly, you can get absolutely amazing shots on a very tight budget. So for starters, the main thing that I used to not like about this lens is that if you get too close to things, you start to get a really soft image. Like, you have to be at least 2, maybe even 3 feet away from this lens to get any sort of sharpness. You need to be at least 1.5 feet away for it to even focus. You might have seen in previous videos where I talked about how I thought the lens wasn't sharp enough for me to use, and I actually put it away on a shelf for a while. But when I was assembling the setup, this was the only lens that I had that I thought would really work. Plus, it's an f1.8. So regardless of its price, this guy shoots a really nice image that lets in a ton of light and allows for this awesome bokeh. And what I quickly realized is that when you actually pull the lens a little bit farther away, you can actually get a pretty sharp image. Right now I'm using dual pixel autofocus to focus on my face, and hopefully this image looks pretty sharp if you zoom in, especially since this glass is just so cheap, to the point where I'm skeptical that this is literally all plastic. So who needs this lens? Well, if you've got a not very expensive camera and you're looking to get really nice images like this, pick up this lens. Because even with my old T5i, if I stuck that right here where the Canon C100 is now and put this lens on it, while it wouldn't look quite as good, I could still get a pretty good image. And that's like a $450 setup right there. So yeah, this is definitely my go-to when it comes to recommending budget lenses, since this is not only the cheapest lens I own, but it may very well be my favorite. It's also super compact, just like Canon's version. There are some people though who this lens still isn't for. Like, if you were going to be using this specifically for tech B-roll, which is why I bought it, then honestly I wouldn't recommend it. Again, when you get really close to your subject, it starts to get really blurry. Even when it says it's focused, the focus is just not very sharp. You have to move pretty far away in order for it to get a good focus, which is why this is perfect, since the camera is like 4 feet away from me right now. But when I used to use it to shoot tech B-roll, I was so dissatisfied that I just put it away on the shelf and never used it again. Well, until now. So yeah, I'll leave this lens linked in the description box down below, and I will see you guys next time. I'm Jack. Peace out.